Could you just clarify real quick, what would the bill that you've introduced, 1214, what would it accomplish?
Well, in my opinion, it'll help us get further along towards our Second Amendment rights. The young lady that spoke today, she was absolutely right. We should never even have to have CCW permits.
Exactly.
That really is unconstitutional. But, you know, we're at a point where that's what we're looking at. And so in order to allow people that have CCW permits to exercise their Second Amendment rights, this is what this bill would do. They can carry this into any, well, I wish it was any gun-free zone, but it's at least on the schools from elementary all the way up through the high school, community colleges, and universities.
Could you clarify the legislative process, so where this bill is now and where it will go?
Gosh. You know, it's a wonder anything ever gets passed. But the bad ones always do.
Right.
The first thing it has to do is go through the committee hearing like it did today. Now, we were missing a member, and so the bill was held. They took testimony, so we won't do that again. Next week, it'll be voted on when we have the 4 members there that we know will vote for it. After it passes out of this committee, it then goes to the Rules Committee, and they simply look at it to see if it's constitutional and in proper form. And then it comes into the caucus, into the Republican caucus and into the Democrat caucus. It'll get trashed in the Democrat caucus, and hopefully we will get everybody in the Republican caucus to pass it and to agree to it. So this bill probably, it'll then come to the floor for a little debate, and it'll probably take a while to debate it there. Some people may try to amend it, Democrats may try to amend it, but hopefully we'll stay that off. Then it'll come for a final read, and it'll probably pass out of here, if we're lucky, with 16 or 17 votes. We have 17 Republicans, so we won't get any Democrat votes. I don't think, unless the NRA really gets on top of this and pushes some of the Democrat members that like to have the NRA support. What happens is it then goes over to the House, and it goes through the same process. It will go to Judiciary over there, and you've got a great Judiciary chairman over in the House. He was my seatmate for a long time. His name's Eddie Farnsworth, and he's #1. So it'll go through Eddie's committee, and I know he'll help get it out, and then it'll go through the same process. If it gets through and passes the House, then it goes to the governor. And so I can tell you what will happen there, as you probably well know. You know, I imagine that's what's going to happen anyway, is she will veto the bill. And there's not enough to override it. So
I'm just going to sneak this one in here. I've read the proposal that John Brakey and others have submitted you over the election integrity.
yes.
Can you give me any
Are
comments?
you a computer geek?
No, but I work with John.
We're both programmers.
Oh, we love
Okay,
it.
hang on, guys. If you give me a second.
Okay, sorry.
And John Brakey and Jim March, they are fabulous. They have uncovered so much stuff here in Maricopa County.
What do you think the likelihood of getting some legislation onto the floor about election reform and some of the issues they brought up?
They have given me some information. They have drafted some legislation which we are going to try to put forward, and that would be in Judiciary next week as a striker. I will take one of my bills and strike all the language on it and put this language onto it, and we'll see if we can move it forward.
Do you have any comments on the election integrity issue or possibly prior elections?
You know, I go back because I ran Pat Buchanan's campaign here in Arizona, and I can tell you from the onset that Pat won in Arizona. He comes off of New Hampshire with this big win, and they were scared to death. They were scared spineless that this man was going to continue, and they had to stop him in Arizona. Now, if he had come in a close second to Forbes, I could have maybe believed that, but Bob Dole came here one time at the airport. That's all he was here. I can't find one person that voted for Bob Dole. And they had Pat coming in a distant third, which is incredible. He had such momentum, it wasn't even funny. And I can tell you a real quick story. Fife Symington was governor. Fife liked Pat really well, and that's why he didn't endorse anybody, because he liked Pat. He called me at 5 o'clock. We were at campaign headquarters working our tail ends off. We couldn't keep track of what was going on. He calls me at 5 o'clock and he says, Karen, I am so excited, because he said, every single exit poll shows Pat running away with this. He is running away with this. Where is your victory party tonight? I am going to be there with bells on. I can hardly wait. And so we finish up just thinking, oh my gosh, you guys, we won. We're so excited. We get over to our election party, and then they start coming in. Here comes the, the election results. And Pat is a distant third. I mean, there is no way. When I talked to Babe Buchanan and some of the others, they said, Karen, this may well be what happened, but it's sour grapes. We can do nothing about it. And that's where we're at. But my concern is kind of what you brought up. And that is that it really doesn't matter who is out there, who you have to vote for. It's who counts the votes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that, all over the country. All over the country. There is no way on God's green earth that Ron Paul has only got 4 to 7% in these different elections. Actually, we were able to pass out the opt-out of the Real ID. It just went out of here with Democrat and Republican support because the ACLU is a supporter of this. They're very strong on the privacy issues. Boy, and I'll take our help wherever we can get it. And we've worked very well together. Now, there's some Republicans that wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole, but that's wrong. When you agree on an issue, and this is a freedom issue, and so we worked well together. And that passed out of the Senate, went all through committee, all through everything, and passed out, went over to the House. And guess what? It went to a committee of a fellow East Valley legislator. And it was my resolution about the North American Union, the one saying, we want Congress to make sure that we don't have anything to do with this, and the opt-out of the Real ID. And when that happened, and it got to his committee, he says, I waited 2 or 3 weeks, and he never put it on the agenda to hear it. I'm getting really worried, so I go over to talk to him, and he says, oh, Senator Johnson, these are fringe issues. We're not going to hear these bills. And I said, what? So I had to go talk to the speaker and get permission to withdraw it from his committee. He and the committee chairman had to give his permission. He says, sure, fine, I don't care. And I had to go find another chairman, which was Ward Nichols, who was very good. But I went out on a Saturday, and I spent 3 or 4 hours bringing him up to speed on these issues so that he understood. He was willing to listen, and he's a good guy. And so he said, absolutely, we'll hear your 2 bills. So they had reassigned them to his committee. All of this takes time. Right. And so by the time we got it through the Homeland Security, oxymoron name, of his
Gestapo.
committee.
I mean, the same route as the Gestapo.
And that's the name of his committee, but he's not like that. They always called my committee when I was over there the Black Helicopter Committee. But anyway, we got it through. It took a while to get it through the rules because we had to really convince the rules chairman, although he was looking at it from the perspective of content, and they're not supposed to do that. Is it in proper form and constitutional? But it doesn't always happen. Anyway, got out of rules, went through caucus, waited for the floor, waited for the floor, waited for the floor. This is in the House. Finally, about a week before we thought we were going to be through with session, I go over there and I try to see the speaker. I couldn't see him. I went to see his head of whoever he works with. Her name's Jody. And I asked her, I said, Jody, when is this bill coming to the floor? We've got the support. This is opting out of the Real ID. And she's, we'll get it on the agenda. He had gotten emails. He had gotten phone calls from people, like yourselves, that wanted this passed. And finally, on this one day, Brian Turner, who happens to be the new JBS coordinator here in Arizona, fabulous young guy. Oh, he's like a ball of fire. And he got 21 people to come over here with him. They set up a meeting with the speaker and went in to talk to him about this bill this particular morning. And the speaker says, well, I don't know anything about this bill. I've never heard anything. Well, which was a little bit of a fabrication because I had talked to him personally. I had sent emails. I talked to his chief of staff, Jody. So anyway, they said, well, we have sent you emails. We have called. And he said, well, I never get those, And so they determined that if you want to talk to anybody that you need to, you better come over with a group. Because he said, well, we'll see what we can do. Well, we sine-died, which means we ended session that night. And so there was no time to hear it, no time to bring it to the floor. So the speaker, Jim Wires, called me this summer, very apologetic. And he says, I promise you, if you will find 2 House members to run the resolution, the North American Union resolution, and the opt-out of the Real ID, we will see that these are some of the first bills that come to the floor, and we will get them out and over to the Senate. And I don't think we'll have any trouble getting them through the Senate once they get over here. But that's where we're at. Now, Representative Judy Burgess is doing the opt-out of the Real ID, and that is going to be heard tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say we have less than 3 months. So when?
Yeah, it's going to be heard tomorrow.
Okay.
We're hoping that we get this bill over here by the 1st of March. if possible, because on the 13th of March, Catherine Albrecht, Jim Heller from Cato, and somebody from the National ACLU are coming here. And we want them to be able to go into committee and testify on this. We are going to have a lunch and invite all the legislators to come and try to get up to speed. Because I'm running another bill that says you cannot chip anybody if you don't have them do informed consent. They must know everything there is to know.
You're talking about
chipping.
forced microchipping?
Yes.
Just to clarify?
RFID,
Okay.
well,
Where
In the,
we would be
in the
counted.
person or in?
in the person. I mean, and people need to know about the RFID chips that are in the passport now, and of course in the Real ID, the 3-in-1 license, you know, they say that, you know, they may put it in. Well, you know darn good and well that's what they're going to do.